This is our fourth event of the new Grapevine Giving Circle Speaker Series. And this is a monthly speaker series that is featuring leading thinkers, practitioners, and industry experts on philanthropy, giving circles, and the broader collective giving movement. So this series is offered to all the giving circles across topics and locations on Grapevine. And so it's really a nice opportunity to connect with a wide variety of individuals in the movement. To that end, please do say hello in the chat. I see people already dropping in notes in the chat. Hi, Mickey from Kansas. Yeah, say hello. Let us know where you're dialing in from. It's fun on these events. We often see people making connections in the chat and even finding friends locally and getting together for coffee. So say hello and let us know there. And if you're comfortable, come on camera. It's always so nice to see the community. This is a community-driven movement, so we always like to have a kind of community vibe in these events. So before we jump in, just quickly, Grapevine, for those of you who aren't familiar, Grapevine powers Giving Circles. We are an online home and community for Giving Circle leaders and members, and we provide the infrastructure tools like payment processing, charitable receipting, community collaboration, all of that, along with Giving Circle leader training and events and more to really support and scale this Giving Circle movement. We're also now helping to start new Giving Circles in areas and around causes where they don't yet exist or where there's interest and appetite for more people to get involved with more groups. So if you are on the call and you've recently been invited to join a new Giving Circle from us, welcome. So nice to have you. And we're excited to have you join this whole movement of networks with a purpose across the country and increasingly the world. Grapevine isn't global yet, but we will be, and the Giving Circle movement certainly is. So we're getting there. And if you've been invited to a new group and you want more information about that group, I just want to note that you are welcome to join our Friday office hours, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. We do it every week for an hour. Maybe, Gabby, we can drop the link in the chat. Thank you so much. And that's just a great place to ask questions about specific groups and learn more about that if you've recently joined or are thinking about joining. Okay, so on to this event. This is going to be an hour-long event, and we'll have 3 different parts. We'll have about 30 minutes conversation with our 4 wonderful panelists on how to start a Giving Circle. And then we'll open it up to some audience Q&A for about 15 minutes. So keep your questions and get ready for that part of the event. And then at the very end, the last 15 minutes or so, we'll do some networking. So like I said, it's a community-driven movement. We know people love to connect with each other through these events. And so Gabby, our community manager who's on the call with us, will give us an intro later on what that part of our series is going, or our event is going to be about. Okay, without further ado, I want to introduce our amazing panelists and get started. So we've gathered a group of founders and leaders of Giving Circles who are all across the United States, from Fayetteville, North Carolina to Bucks County, Pennsylvania. These founders have been in the field figuring out how to grow and engage and lead their Giving Circles in myriad ways. There are different models, different approaches. So you'll get a really nice example of different ways to think about this and go through this process. So today they'll be sharing both their approaches and challenges and key learnings for all of you, and maybe some key words of advice as well if you're thinking about starting your own Giving Circle here soon. So please welcome Lisa Latravado, founder of 50 Fabulous Women Giving Circle, and a couple more she's going to tell us about shortly. Zenaida Cranford, president of Fayetteville Women for Good. Lynn Kelleher, founder of 100 Women Who Care, Bucks County. And Gung Wong, founder of the Civic Champs Giving Circle at the Civic Champs Company. Okay, thank you all for being here. To kick things off, I want to just pass it around and ask each of you to quickly tell us when you founded your Giving Circle, maybe what inspired it, and what the kind of basic model is that you're working with. So Lynn, if you don't mind, maybe I'll pass it to you first.
Excellent. Okay, so I started 100 Women Who Care, Bucks County, which is outside of Philadelphia, in 2014. I had gone to a similar event with my sister in a neighboring county and thought to myself, this is brilliant. I can do this because it's so simple. I had been in traditional fundraising I'm a realtor, through our board of realtors. We did a annual charity auction. That was so much darn work. And we never achieved what I achieve in one meeting. So very briefly, here's how my group works. I get a group of women together. I started with 35. I now have 250. Everybody agrees to meet for 1 hour once a quarter and donates $100. At the meeting, we hear from 3 different charities. Those charities must commit. They must be a 501c3, and their money must stay in Bucks County. They each get 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, there's question and answers. The women who are in attendance vote, and attendance is either in person or on Zoom. We have a hybrid model. The top vote getter gets all the money. When we're done with that, anybody who wants to can nominate a charity. All the names go in a hat. We pick 3. Those 3 present at the next meeting. So in 1 hour, I am donating $25,000 to my local community. It's simple. It's brilliant. And I will say this to you, because it's simple and it's brilliant and it's effective, you can do it too. And I'm here to help you. So that's my 60-second commercial.
Perfect, Lynn. Thanks for starting us off. That was great. Lisa, maybe I'll pass it to you. I think you have a model that's similar, but maybe slightly different. Do you want to share?
Absolutely. So welcome, everyone. Glad to have you here. We're all here to help you, and just excited that you're joining our community, because we are a community of disruptive fundraisers, and we do things a little bit more creatively, but we're all community here to support each other. Shout out to Alyssa from Rochester, New York, my hometown, and also Lauren Lewis, who is in Buffalo on my executive team. I want to say thanks, and my fiance Todd Schubach for joining and listening to what I do every single day. So I started my giving circle in 2019. I had wonderful women leaders in my life. One passed away, one retired. It was my time and my turn to put my hand back for the next generation. But what was that legacy going to be? And I started doing research, and I found giving circles. And giving circles were amazing because they had so many different groups that you could get involved with. And basically, a lot of them had 25, 50 people. I knew 50 people. I was going to give it a go. So my first giving circle, 50 Fabulous Women of Buffalo, we do similar to Lynn. We meet quarterly, $50 donation. And what we do is focus on groups in Western New York that help women and children. That really took off. We actually had folks who moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina. A lot of North Carolina people on this call. I love it. And we actually started a chapter in North Carolina. They took the reins over this year, and they're off running. And thirdly, we knew there's a lot of things happening with COVID, with mental health. And unfortunately, we had that terrible massacre here in Buffalo, New York on May 14th. And we came together and started a giving circle called Jenny Circle. It's named in honor of my great aunt Jenny, who suffered from mental health her entire life. And we give only $25 at that circle just to get started. And we kind of look at things differently and try to create a community around it. So like Lynn said, it is easy to do. It's fun, but thank God for Grapevine, because they will make your life so easy. You're not chasing people around with checks, because that's what I started with in the beginning. So really turnkey. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And such a nice other way of looking at this. So it can be location-based, it could be location plus a cause-based in your second group you mentioned, or just cause-based. Great other examples. Zenaida, do you want to jump in and share?
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hop in the Call. You are going to get a lot of gems today, so please take notes. Very important. My name is Zenaida Cranford, as stated by Emily, and my giving circle is very unique because it was founded and created by the Grapevine platform through Emily. So she actually provided a platform for us to take off on our own terms. It's been fun, and it's just too easy, y'all. It really is. Lynn just said it, like how it's done. It really, you think it's gonna be too much of a headache, and it really is not. It really is not. It's too easy. Anyone can do this. Our group is called Fayetteville Women for Good. It is an area-based giving circle in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And we consist of a vast group of incredible women from all walks of lives and all walks of professions. So it doesn't have to be you make your group however you want and see fit. But for us, anyone can do a greater impact as long as it's collective. And that can be as simple as a stay-at-home mom or a military wife. You know, we devote our lives to a lot of things, and sometimes it takes more effort to do it as a group because it's greater to make greater impact as a collective. Our model is really, really simple, and I would say this: it is consistent of 70% women involvement or women-led organizations, because we all believe that women empowerment is very important for the growth of our community, because we are the backbone of literally everything, aren't we? Any organization, community, or business that you see around, it is woman-led. So we've made it as simple as 70% woman-led organizations. And we do meet quarterly, same approach. We do give, and who gives gets to vote. So if you're a member and haven't even considered donating, then you will come to attend our meetings. We'll give you more information about our Giving Circle, what we do, maybe tell you to come out in the field and see what we actually do hands-on, and give you a basic approach of what our Giving Circle is. And then once you donate, you get a say in these nonprofits that you do. It's not going to be like, if I donate $5,000, I got the majority say. No, ma'am, it's all collective. We all work together for the greater impact of our communities. And that is basically how our Giving Circle works, thanks to Grapevine.
Thank you so much, Zenaida. Zenaida is an example of one that I mentioned earlier, where Grapevine has started to help jumpstart new giving circles in new areas. So very happy to have her here and share that part of her experience, or that example. And then we have another one that's a bit different as well. So Gung runs a giving circle for his company with his team on quite a bit of a different model. So Gung, would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Gung Wong. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Civic Champs. So real quickly, we provide volunteer management software for nonprofits. So helping with habitats and animal shelters and whatnot with registrations and all that kind of stuff, right? And so, very mission driven as a company. We're a benefit corporation as well. And so I guess what initially inspired us to do a giving circle was we went to the Greater Giving Summit, and there was a giving circle that I got to experience, and I thought, how it was just so much more fun than I think other traditional giving was done. And so we brought it back to the company, and basically it serves as our sort of corporate social responsibility component, where the company itself will donate a certain amount into the giving circle every month, and then employees, myself included, we can all chip in to the cause. And so the way we work is, we support nonprofits that have a volunteering program, right? We said, hey, that makes sense, and we typically have a person who's sort of nominated to sort of do the research and highlight different organizations. Oftentimes we highlight organizations that are thematic for the month, right? So if it's like, mental health, month or something like that, we'll find an organization that supports mental health. The only exception that we've done is we do have 3 employees who work in Ukraine. And so we, spent a couple of months looking at organizations that supported Ukraine, just because, and they didn't necessarily have to have a volunteer component, right? We just wanted to do as much as we could for those team members. But that's kind of our giving circle. We're relatively small. It grows or shrinks based on the number of employees that we have.
Thank you, Gung. And it's great because we often get this question: how can my company get involved? Or I run a small company, how can we participate in this movement? And there are a variety of ways, but actually starting your own giving circle for your team is a really, really great one. So I'd love to go around and ask each of our panelists to share what they would say to someone on this call, perhaps, who is feeling inspired wants to start a giving circle, but has no idea where to begin? What are some of those manageable, very first next steps that they can take, maybe right after getting off this call, to get started? So maybe we'll just continue in the same path. So Lynn, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I would say the whole reason this works is because of its simplicity. So you know what? Maybe you start with your book club. Maybe you start as I did. I'm a realtor. So I started as and my first meeting of 35 women were all my past clients and part of my center of influence. All you got to do is get them there once, because then they're hooked. And the reason it works is because it's so simple. There's not a lot of rules. So you just invite a group of people together. You meet for a drink, because when my group meets, we always have a drink. And everybody commits that they're on board and they're going to commit to $100. You made it your initial meeting. People come with some ideas, and you collectively vote on who you want to make your money to. You want to have the money go to. Grapevine is awesome because they'll help you manage the process, and they give you a platform for accepting online payments. When I first started, they weren't around. So I had, was tracking people. For me to now track 250 checks would be cumbersome. And the whole thing is keep it simple. So, but the beauty of it is that between the online payments, and some people don't want to do that, so they write checks, but they write the checks directly to the charity. See, so I don't have to be a 501c3. I don't have to manage all the money. The checks, when I have my meeting, whether it was 35 or 250, once the charity is voted on and decided, top vote getter gets all the money. The checks are made directly to the charity. I just check off, okay, who's paid, and I send the checks directly to the charity. The charity has to commit to not taking the info off the checks, put it on in their database to further solicit. But it's as simple as getting a group of your friends together. And then, because here's the thing, your $100, not to belittle anybody's $100, but in isolation, doesn't have a lot of impact. You put your $100 with 25 other women's checks, and now you're donating $2,500. Well, as my mother would say, now you're cooking with gas, man. And now you're having an impact. So start talking about it. Get a group of people together. And once they see the impact, then they'll start to talk to people. And it's like that commercial, and they'll tell 2 friends, and so on and so on and so on.
Thank you, Lynn. That's great. We often hear this where people piggyback on existing networks. So like you said, a book club or your real estate connections, right? So think of the networks you're already a part of that you can piggyback on. And the second thing you highlighted is have an event, just gather first, tell them about it, come together, get them excited. And that can be a really great way to just jumpstart it. And then all of those people become great advocates for pulling in more. But Lisa, did you want to add anything to that?
Absolutely. So in these days and times, in the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, folks really wanted to make a difference in their community. They didn't know how. But what the Giving Circle does is it allows anybody to be a philanthropist, to have a voice, to make a difference. In our Giving Circle, the first one that we had, as my grandmother would say, throw the spaghetti against the wall and see if it stuck, right? I went through my LinkedIn and my Facebook group, and I put out a post, and I had, 13 people originally. The next meeting, like Lynn said, word of mouth spread. I went up to 50 people, and now we're at over 100 members, and it just keeps growing by itself. But in addition, what we're allowing to do, not just the simplicity, but also we're creating women leaders as well. A lot of our members then find out about these small not-for-profits they never heard of. They become volunteers, they become board members, and then they become leaders in our community. And you know what happens when that happens? We break the glass ceilings. So totally easy, simple way of giving back. People feel a huge part connected to their community, that they're making a difference. And when I first started, Lynn, absolutely, it was a nightmare having to chase everybody down for those checks. Grapevine came into my life and it was like unbelievable, perfect timing. And I wouldn't be able to do the Charlotte Giving Circle and the Jenny's Giving Circle without it. And as we're looking to actually grow into our youth giving circle, that's what's going to allow us to do it. But just get people together more than ever. We've been stuck inside for 2 years. People want to get together. They want to connect. We're seeing it time and time again. And yes, Lynn, alcohol is the answer to all of these things to keep people together.
I hope not for the youth giving circle.
No, that will be a sports drinks or something. We're good at that.
Great, thank you both. Zenaida, did you want to share any recommendation you have for people?
Yes, absolutely. I kind of just nitpick and pick a handful of what we do in ours, and this is just a few that are very essential, and it should only be done within 2 weeks of building your group. And it's very important because the thought in your it's very fresh. If we let stuff slide, we'll forget about it and then we're not going to do it. So these are to be done within 2 weeks of you thinking about managing a group, funding a group, or getting a group started. One of them is gather your objective. So before you even consider about recruiting someone, you need to gather your objective about what you want this founding group to be, your purpose at the end of the day for this given circle. Number 2 is gather a group of 5 to 7 members. Must be diverse. We need diversity in groups. We definitely do. 5 to 7 members. Why 5 to 7 members? Because we need an odd number in case we need to go ahead and vote on something. We don't want to have even votes. We want to have odd votes. Very, very important. Also, when you're recruiting these members, you can't expect to label which members you want. I want all professionals of let's say we want all professionals of maybe so-and-so group. No, make it diverse and make it from different walks of life, because top-notch degrees nowadays are worthless. You know, they really ain't gonna take you too far unless you really try a tackle for something else. But make it to where the talents and skills of those members are the ones that are gonna move your group forward successfully. That's what counts, their talents and successes. Number 3 is gather members in one room, whether it's virtually or in person, to build rapport within your group. So that when you meet and get these meet and greets done, you have your members are familiarized with what Grapevine is, you're familiarized with your group, and you're familiarized with how you're planning to run this group, so that new members that wants to join in, you can properly give them the information needed. And no one is clashing or anything like that. And another gem, you have to have roles. So like me, I'm a area-based group that was created by Grapevine, right? So Grapevine actually just volunteered us into roles and added members connected to those roles. And what we did, I was the MC. So what I did was that I got through all the other members, I emailed them, I got them in all one group, and we rediscussed these roles. Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? Do we want to rechange? We want to sort them out? And that's what we did. I wasn't comfortable being the MC or the host, but we did have a radio personality in our group. So she was the radio and MC of our group, and she does it amazingly. And we don't step on each other's toes, if that makes sense. So building rapport is very important. Besides building those roles from your group, if you are a Grapevine founded group, you also want to create positions and titles, just like a regular nonprofit. For example, I identify myself as the president of Fayetteville Women for Good. My role for Grapevine is to recruit nonprofits to select nonprofit. But in the far front, I am the president of Fayetteville Women for Good. We have a treasurer, we have a vice chair president, and we also have a marketing strategist and coordinator. So those are very important and very essential roles that you might want to consider when building a founding group. And last but not least, gather your mission statements. Very, very important. Why? Because we are an organization. We're not a 501c3, but who's to say in the long run you don't want to create one, or you're just made one just because, right? So you want to make sure that your group is mission driven, community oriented, community focused, and it adapts to what you believe in. So your mission statement and your vision for your group is going to develop the effectiveness of the success in the community's impact collaboratively. So I hope those were very helpful for you. Within those 4, you can always implement other strategies in between. And it's just as simple as that.
Thank you, Zenaida. Yeah, it's a great point. A lot of our groups do like to put together a high-level mission statement or have an initial conversation about values that are driving their giving, or have a moment to connect and identify a particular mission or vision for the group. Gung, why don't we turn to you? Would love to hear from you again. You're a bit of a different giving circle within the company. So what would you suggest to people who might be interested in starting a company giving circle?
I mean, as a founder CEO, it's a little easier in that I get to sort of have my pet project, so to speak, right? I think, I love the idea of sort of co-opting existing groups, and in many ways, a company, coworkers is just that, right? And I thought about, the other thing that we do is we co-opt our events, right? And so, for example, we have a weekly meeting already set up. So, it's a perfect venue for us to have that conversation. And I'm sure that's probably true for other giving circles, right? So, the nice thing about book clubs and other groups like that, right? Like you already meet every so often, right? And so I saw the questions around engagement. Well, it's less difficult to bring people to a thing if it's not just for the giving circle, right? If it's like, we have book club and every month, part of that book club is the giving circle, right? And so I think that can be really helpful. I think from starting a corporate group, if you already have, if the company already gives in some way, right? I think you could make the argument that Grapevine and sort of giving circles really democratize that process, right? And it allows the employees to have a voice in terms of where you want to give. And it's more interesting and fun, right? And so, I think a lot of companies, depending on the folks there, right, are often open to trying something new, and even if you don't have permission to get corporate funding, right, like the company to match or in some way to sort of bolster, there's nothing to say that you can just start it in the same way that a normal Grapevine does, right? If you just pull together a couple coworkers and said, hey, I thought this would be great, why don't we do this once a month, and we give back to the community and be kind of a fun activity we could do as a team on Fridays or something, right? So those are some quick thoughts.
Thanks, Gung. That's great. And that's a great point. We actually have seen some people who are, for example, leaders of ERGs. They're not the founder of the company like you are to have that kind of ability to unlock money from the company directly, but they are organizing their colleagues into a giving circle. And I wonder, Gung, if you could just share quickly, what has been the response from your team?
It's been great. I mean, we obviously make it optional to give. You can't because it's employees, you can't coerce them to say like, oh, well, you must like contribute, right? But I think even folks that because we do a vote, right? And so I feel like everyone appreciates the fact that even if you're not contributing dollars for the month, your voice is still heard, right? And in some amount, because the company is always contributing, is actually kind of coming from you, right? It's like, we just had election day, right? But it's your vote matters, and I think people appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. That's great. It does feel like people want that kind of connection in the workplace more than ever. So this is a really nice way to do that. Lynn, I'd love to turn it over to you for a minute and just hear a little bit more from you about your giving circle and I suppose like the effects that it has had on your own social and professional networks and opportunities. So we often see that giving circles can be a great way for people to connect with other people and build their own networks, and that can lead to other opportunities down the line. And I think you have some interesting experience to share on this.
I do. So like I just am going to say before that, a couple of things because I've kind of been keeping my eye on the chat too.
Mm.
My group is a little bit different than Zenaida's in that we don't have a board. There's me and another real estate agent. She is the Ethel to my Lucy. Okay, so she's like the check-in gal, does all that. Other than that, we're very loosely held.
Mm.
Our only rule is you must be a 501c3 and the money must stay in Bucks County. If you nominate a charity and they don't win, your money goes to the winning charity. If you want to also contribute to the one that you nominated, that's fine. The top vote getter gets all the money. And because we decide, we'll decide at our December meeting, pick the names out of the hat, who's going to be presenting in March, then whoever the nominator of the winning charity that's selected to present at the next meeting, they have to get somebody from the charity to come to make the pitch, so that I do put in my email that says the next meeting is here, this date and at this time, and I identify the 3 charities with links to their website so everybody can do their own research. Somebody from the charity is there to come and answer people's questions. And it's the person who nominated them, their job to get somebody from the charity, not mine. Okay, because we got to keep it simple. I have had some people that said, like one time we had Planned Parenthood was one of our people that we considered. And somebody came up to me afterwards and said, I have a problem with them. They win. There's a whole abortion thing. I said, if you have a problem, other people may have a problem. I'm not going to be put in a position to administrate who's a worthy person or not. If they meet that basic criteria, they can present. If you have a problem, it'll work. Other people have a problem. It'll work its way out through the democratic process. If somebody wins and you have a moral objection, you see me and you'll contribute to one of the other people. And so not a lot of rules, it's just simple. So answer your question. One of the benefits to me as a independent contractor and a small business person, as a realtor, is being able to reach out to my center of influence and expand my center of influence in a way that presents me as not Lynn Kelleher realtor, Lynn Kelleher community supporter and woman of generous heart. Gives me another opportunity to reach out to my center of influence in a way that expands my persona and shows that I am a supporter of the community that supports me. And that has significantly expanded my position in the community, in my position with my center of influence and my clients in ways I never could have imagined. So the impact of doing this is so far reaching. It really is amazing, because when people come to this and they see and they hear the different charities, and there are no losers of the charities, because they get the exposure for their charity. So, hey, maybe they don't win the money, but they pick up some volunteers. Or if they don't win, they can be resubmitted at the next meeting. So maybe they have another opportunity. But and I'm telling you, every single woman that is at that, either at the meeting or on the Zoom call, feels like they're a part of something greater than them. I have chills. I mean, I hate to sound like a Pollyanna. Most of you, a lot of you young people probably don't even know who she is, but we do such good, and it's so easy, and it will impact your life in ways that you won't even realize initially. So
Great.
that's
Thank
my
you.
thing.
That's fantastic. And thank you for touching on the kind of the values part and identifying organizations. I do think that's something that we often see people who are interested in starting a giving circle get a little hung up on. And I'm not sure if this resonates with any of you here, but that whole feeling of like, well, who am I? Who am I to like say that we should give and help steward money to nonprofits? I don't know that much, but if not you, who, right? And it's not, you don't have to be the one to decide. That's the beauty of it. As Lynn said, you put it through the democratic process. So you're helping to galvanize this model, but you don't have to be the one, to be the expert. No one's looking to do that.
And I think what Lisa said is so true, in that don't tell me that all of you don't know 50 or 100 women through those, this, that don't want to do more for their community, but simply don't have the time. It's not so much the money. And maybe if you're in a community where maybe $100 is a little bit too much, maybe it's 50. Maybe it's like, I have a one woman in my group whose daughters are starting a community for students. Theirs is $25. But don't tell me you don't know somebody that doesn't feel like they would love to be able to do more for their community, but they simply do not have the time. And I think we all know people like that. And this gives people an opportunity to make a difference in their community, and with like such a minimum of effort. The difference between effort and impact is just huge. Okay, I said my bit.
Thank you. Well, that's a great bit to end on. And I've been a terrible moderator because we are quite over time, but we do have a few minutes. And so we do have time for a few questions, maybe 2, maybe 3, depending. If anyone has a question that you want to ask, please, you can go ahead and use the raise hand button, or just raise your hand if you have. Janine, yeah, please go ahead. And then Joseph, we can go to you after.
I'm sorry, my Zoom wasn't cooperating with me. My question is, I was invited into a group that does not have leadership. We have you, Emily. That's it. We don't have anybody set up. So as somebody who very much wants to be a part of that, what's the next step for somebody like me who would like to get a first meeting on the books and start moving and grooving with that?
Yeah, love that. Well, so Janine, for you and for anyone else who's in that camp, like Zenaida was, there is a way where you can just let us know if you're interested in being a leader, and we will we'll provide the training and set those leadership teams up. So that's one. But there is usually like a couple of months where we're just getting a group up and running before the leaders have been set. So during that process, you can also reach out to the other members in the group and start meeting up for coffee chats, or we've seen a lot of really fun things happening in that in-between period as a group is still kind of getting its more formal structure set up, where the members are just connecting and sharing. But if you're interested in being a leader of one of the groups that we've started and want to let us know, just email Gabby. It's gabrielle@grapevine.org. And Gabby, maybe you could just drop your email in the chat. Perfect. Thank you. And we'll make sure that we follow up with you. Liz, oh, sorry. No, we were going to Joseph next, and then we can go to Liz. I think we'll have just enough time.
Thanks, Emily. I'll keep it quick. There's been a bit of discussion in the chat about voting structure, and we were told to pick 3 nominations at random to vote on. And our leaving members didn't like the feel of that. We thought it might be more inclusive and more empowering to let anybody present something they were passionate about and vote on that. And I wanted to ask some of the leaders more experienced here, do you have experience with either one of those or both? And do you have any guidance that might help us pick the right one at this point?
Yeah,
I can probably answer that question for you. So our approach on voting, it's as simple as if you donate, you have a say. So when we do all these meetings and especially meeting our members, we have icebreakers. And one of those icebreakers are, what are some of the pillars that what are some of the values that you have? What are your pillars that you stand for? And what are 2 nonprofits that if you had the means to support, you would like to support? So that kind of gives us already a kind of head start to the ones we are considering in looking at for. And that gives the group members that are existing members some type of inclusivity and kind of more engaging in it, because we don't want ever to have just the members decide for the group. That is not how it should work, right? We want to make sure that our members within the group and within the platforms are engaged constantly and are actually out in the community saying, hey, I volunteered with, this nonprofit who helps with, targeted moms and human trafficking and stuff like that. And I do feel like they are a very good candidate. And we'll say, okay, well, give us our information and a point of contact, and we'll look into it for our next given quarterly. So we want to make sure that we continuously are engaging with our members, creating rapport with them, building community relationships so that we can grow bigger and better. And when it's time to support nonprofits, we're not just supporting strangers.
So Joseph, to add to that, in our group, we actually have a grants committee and we have a process. So our members will tell these organizations to fill out the grant application. And we have guidelines like a budget of $1 million or less within the 8 counties of Western New York that serve women and children. For the mental health giving circle, it's a different kind of set of standards, but they have to go through this process. And then we have a grants committee that meets 2 weeks ahead of time. We all discuss and we have a metrics of, hey, do they meet our criteria? Are they within what we're looking to do? And they have to meet those things. And then we vote. And the top 3 people get to come and actually present at the meetings. But we don't just leave the people behind that don't fit into our criteria either. We kind of coach and try to help them and put them where they need to be and try to mesh them up in our community. We're working on a resource guide with that right now.
nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Joseph, there are many ways that people do that. The kind of democratic or just like picking out of the hat is one, but there's some great ideas there for ways you can whittle that down. Always a tough decision, no matter which approach you take. Okay, Liz, why don't we go to you? We'll do one last question and then we'll turn it over to Gabby for some networking.
Thank you. The quick question is, some of the links that I think Gabby has been posting, can those just be emailed out to the participants after the call so that we don't have to write the long links down? And then also, I'm in the process of starting a new circle. Definitely, as Lynn said, word of mouth. We are at 65 women who have expressed an interest. And our next step, once we finalize everything, is to send out the commitment form. And once they commit, then we're going to send out the Grapevine link to get them get them signed up. Our hope is that when we send the initial email out with their commitment forms, we're asking for them to invite their, friends, family, whoever that live in the area to join us. But are there any other ideas of, we would really love to hit, because we're 100 Women Who Care. So we'd love to hit that 100 mark by our first meeting, which is January. So we've still got a little bit of time. We've been working on it now for several months, and we've got our meeting dates. We're just finalizing our meeting location and a Facebook page.
Great. Sounds like you have a lot of great things going on. Yeah, Lisa, Lynn.
Yep. So Liz, where's your community? Where are you doing this?
We are outside of Nashville. So Wilson County it's the greater Wilson County. So we're getting all the counties that surround us that don't already have a chapter of 100 Women Who Care.
one of the groups that I would suggest tapping into or trying to reach out to is Women United with United Way. And they already are in the universe that you're doing. And it's a very low commitment that they have to do for United Way. And a lot of those folks have come over to our giving circle. And I'm a fundraiser, so I'm out in the community a lot. I kind of leverage my networks of who is the community relations person at Bank of America or TD Bank or wherever you're in. Reach out to them and see if they would be interested in joining, and just keep networking the heck out of it. Go to as many events as you can, just talking about it, and tell as many people as you can. It just works out numbers wise.
Great. Thanks, Lisa.
Sure.
The other thing I would piggyback on that with, because a couple of people have asked about recruitment, is connect with somebody that has a vast network. So get a couple of realtors on your thing, in your group. And if you want, I put my email in the chat there. Have them contact me and tell them why they should sign on to this. Because if you get or a small business owner that will put a flyer in their all of their bags at checkout, or in my community we have a local newspaper that goes out once a month that gets mailed to every house in the township. Get them to do an article about you. Try and get to some influencers who have vast networks and explain to them how not only is this good for them, the person, it's good for them, the realtor, financial planner, mortgage person, insurance guy, whoever. Those people, those are the people that you need that can take your group and skyrocket it because they have large centers of influence.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add, Liz, a couple of other thoughts too with some of the online recruitment where we've seen success at Grapevine is one, if you are on Nextdoor, the platform, and even if you're not, maybe get onto Nextdoor, the platform. We've seen giving circles have a lot of success when the leaders, and then they can ask their members as well to just make a little post. And we actually have some template language that we can send out and follow up to this event as well. That is just a very simple post about why I've joined this giving circle and would love for you to join. We've had groups post on that and get 10 or 20 new members in a week. So because it's so hyper local and you have to be living in that community to be on it, I think that is a very high value place to post. And then the other thing that we've seen work really well is when you identify people on LinkedIn in particular, we've seen work well, although I know some people have had success with Facebook as well and Instagram. But if you identify people on LinkedIn that are living in your community and you just reach out to them, right? So, and you say, hey, I'd like to personally invite you to this group. We've just started it. It's a group of local leaders. I think you could be a great fit. What do you think? Would love to jump on a quick call. And so we've had a lot of success with that as we've been jump-starting these new groups like the one that Zenaida is part of, and Joseph as well, I think. But that's another avenue. And so it's not so much like you want to make the bigger post, like Lisa said, that's more of the social post. That's great. But also just actually identifying people and doing that direct message to them and personally inviting them can go a long way.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, well, we have a decision to make, Gabby. We have 9 minutes left. I apologize. I failed at moderating today. There's so much goodness being shared. Should we jump into networking? Should we continue with questions? Are there lots of questions going on in the chat that we should try and lift up instead? What do you think?
Yeah, I propose we keep asking questions. I think we've got this mind here, and we've got, I really want to also get to the engagement stuff. Julie has questions around that, and I think it's really, really key how to engage your members. So I suggest we do that. And then we have a networking event coming up in December. So if you, really want to connect, I'll make sure to share that in the follow-up after, along with all the other links. So I think it would be great, actually, if people could share some what has worked, what hasn't worked in terms of engaging your members. I think that's a key thing lots of people want to know about.
Perfect. Okay. Does anyone want to jump in on that one, engaging members?
Lynn, I'm going with you first.
Okay.
So that's always the key. That's always the challenge. How do you keep people engaged? For the longest time, we hovered at 200 people because we would bring people would join and then people slack off. And no matter what you do, that's always going to happen. So like, don't get your panties in a twist about that. I try and, like I said, I have my event at a local country club which is not always easy to do because they'll charge you, but this country club allows us to use one of their ballrooms for free. And I personally pay for the bartender. I feel like if you're going out on a Monday or Tuesday night, and it's always a Monday or a Tuesday, because those are the nights where, when we first went to restaurants and stuff, that's the nights where they're slowest. So that's why we decided on that. But it's always at a place where somebody can have a glass of wine, so it becomes a little bit of an event. And then, like this month, we're going to another local place afterwards for anybody that wants to have like a little holiday cheer kind of a thing. That's another reason why I do in person and Zoom, because not everybody can come. And people like to hear about the charities. So I think that's really important. Another thing that I just started to do to kind of keep people engaged is the winning charity from the previous month comes back to the meeting and talks about all the good that they were able to accomplish with our money. So that has been good. I send, periodic emails, like this is coming up and, here's the charities and, make sure you come early and grab a drink at the bar and we're going to go out afterwards, whatever. Those are just some of the things that I do. So far it's worked.
Some of the other things that I do, and not me in particular, but Lauren, God bless her, we have quite a social media following from our members too. So because what you'll find is, and what really got me to continue my giving circles, was that we were the seed funding for these small not-for-profits who weren't going to go to these big, foundations in town and get funding. And now what we're finding is they're now getting funded from other larger organizations. We give them money to get the program off the ground. They have results and now they can get more funding. So we continuously update our members. Hey, these 3 people won a pitch tent competition. They won $10,000. We were the first one to support them. It keeps members engaged and it really keeps them saying, we made a difference. We were at the ground level of this. And the social media aspect of it, before every meeting, we list on our social media, but also in our email, these are the top 3 finalists. Here's their links, read up on them. And then what we do at the end of the year, to Lynn's point, everybody who was a finalist but didn't get funded and chosen, we put it out to membership. They pick the organization for our special 5th donation, totally optional, not required. And that's who we support for the holiday season.
Nice. Thank you both for sharing. Yeah, it seems like a lot of it is the communication side of things, right? Flagging what's coming up so people get excited about it, keep it on their calendar. There's a nice build up to it. And then the follow-up part of like what you've actually accomplished together and making sure that there's that full circle where people feel connected to that impact. I know Zenaida had to leave a little bit early, but Gung, I really wanted to hear from you too, as you think about engaging your team. I mean, this could be, you're a smaller group, and so you're obviously engaging with each other all the time, but how do you keep people excited about this model and giving each month together?
So we found that we used to have the model that a lot of folks use where, individuals could sort of nominate a nonprofit and they would sort of do a presentation. As a corporate group, right, I think that model didn't work as well for us. We still take the nominations, but then we actually have it assigned to somebody, an intern at this point right now, who does the research, puts together sort of a 1-page sheet about the organization and sort of presents on behalf of the organizations, so that we have a little bit more context and people can feel like they have more knowledge of the organizations. And so that's been helpful to keep people engaged and sort of excited about the work we do. We also track how much we've contributed. We have like a little, we have what we call a culture deck. And so there's a couple slides that, every month, the logo of the organizations we've supported. And that's kind of fun, especially at the end of the year. We review that together and say, hey, here's all the different organizations we supported and how much we've given. So those are a few ways that we've kept folks engaged.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, coming back to the impact side of things. Any other thoughts from the broader group here? I know we're just about out of time. I wonder if anyone else has run a giving circle and had any other experience to share. No? Joseph, yeah, please jump in.
I don't really have much of experience to share other than experience with questioning everything along the process. So in our
That's
stage, like
engaging.
yeah, like it's an interesting process. So like with our case, we're sustainable fashion. And there actually isn't that many direct sustainable fashion nonprofits. Most companies are for-profit, and most of the nonprofits are like huge companies where they're investing in other organizations. So one of the things I was wondering about, just like spitballing, was like, does anyone have any experience where there hasn't been a good solution and a new nonprofit has been birthed from the collective giving circles, members, resources, and networks?
Great question. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone?
Not really. I mean, I find that there's when my group first started, the nominations were not plentiful. This is 35 women. And so, maybe one time we only had 2 nominations. Most of the time sometimes we had 3 and they all 3 got a chance to present. But as the group started to grow, it does make you realize the extent of the need that's out there. I mean, now there's a ton there's a bunch of nominations. And so the more people come to meetings, the more aware they are, so that their antenna is out to pay attention to groups that they read about in the newspaper, other things they see on social media, so we never have a problem. And we don't, obviously we're not given to Susan B. Komen because the money doesn't stay local. We're not given to American Cancer because the money doesn't stay local. But I've found in my community, there's an abundance of people and organizations that need our money.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for that. I know we're just at time and we could dig in further on this. And I think though, Joseph, even just the questioning, right, and the talking about these things as a group is really engaging. And we have at Grapevine actually seen in some cases Giving Circle members go and start a project to address something and have it fiscally sponsored, because you don't have to set up a whole 501c3 to do it. And because the Giving Circle is such a flexible model, they've been able to support that initial project through a fiscal sponsor. So and we're at Grapevine, we're always happy to share examples like that and how your group could do that if that ends up being a path that your group decides they want to go down. Thank you everyone so much for your time. Thank you, Lisa, Lynn, Gung, Zenaida, for your wonderful insights and experiences today, and everyone for your good questions. I think we have a few links to drop in the chat, an upcoming coffee chat opportunity if you want to be connected with someone else in the movement, that member mixer that Gabby mentioned. And we will be having another event on like this in the series, hearing from Holly Lee, the founder of the Asian Women Giving Circle, coming up next month as well. So we'll send some follow-up resources to all of you. There are lots of great tips and tricks that we can send out and follow up. So keep an eye out for that email, and always feel free to reach out to us and let us know if you have specific questions we can help with. But thank you all. Really appreciate it. And
thanks everybody.
Thank you. Keep going.
Yes.